Hi all, this is May and welcome back to my channel for a brand new speed build. So today I'm making a science and tech museum as part of my save file, and as always I do have a playlist up on my channel with all the builds I've done so far, so if you haven't checked it out yet, make sure to do so after this video. Today's build is the very last community lot I'm doing for the first version of my save file, which consists of Willow Creek, Oasis Springs, and Newcrest. So the museum I'm building today is in Newcrest. It's on what I would like to call the commercial strip in Newcrest, because that's basically what I've made it to be. But if you know The Sims 4, then you know that this world is empty once you boot up a new save. Like, there are no lots here, but I've done majority of all the lots here now. There is this modern townhouse that I'm still working on, and this bigger modern apartment complex that I've probably been working on for half a year now, and I'm just getting around to renovating that again and trying to make it better than where I left it off last time I worked on it. So usually I try my best to finish up a build as soon as possible before I lose inspiration or before I get, I don't know, like kind of bored of the build, to be honest. So usually when I do bigger builds, I will naturally have breaks, and sometimes it can take a really long time before I come back to it, or I might come back to it in several like intervals. So that's definitely something that has happened with me and like with that whole apartment complex that is actually just down the road from today's build. So yeah, both of those builds I just mentioned are in Newcrest, then Oasis Springs is all done. I have also started uploading the Sims for like the Sims who are going to be in the save file to my gallery, so if that's of any interest, you will find them on my gallery at honeymaysims. And yeah, then there's just a few remaining details in Willow Creek, I do believe. So I'm crossing my fingers I'll be finally able to put the save file up for download within the next 2 months. I'm not really the biggest fan of having these, I don't know, like time restrictions, if you can call it that, for my builds and for my save file, because sometimes I can get stressed by it and then my motivation kind of drops, weirdly enough, but that's just how I am. I like to take things at my own pace, and sometimes unpredictable things happen. Like life happens that can just put a stop on things, and you never know for how long that can last. So yeah, I'm currently having these periods with bursts of inspiration, and then maybe even the next week I don't want to be on my computer at all for various reasons. But especially now in the summertime and with the heat wave that's been going on here in Norway at the time of me making this voiceover, it's just a lot. It gets really hot, and especially when I boot up The Sims 4 on my computer, it is a heat wave in itself. And that's not just in the summertime. Wintertime though, it can be kind of nice, not gonna lie. But yeah, I have been struggling a bit with builder's block or content creation burnout for the last couple of months, just to be a bit transparent with you all. And I might not have been able to post as much as I've used to. So I just gotta take it a bit easy and hope that I'm able to overcome it. Otherwise, I would have to take a longer break to kind of recharge, reevaluate some things. So please bear with me and be patient as I slowly but surely finish up the save file and try to get back to other content on the channel as well. I know that a lot of people are waiting for another very veggie episode as well. So I just need to plan out how to do it. Sometimes there just isn't the right time for me to sit down and do stuff, because sometimes I'm not at home alone or there are like stuff happening outside my window and it picks up on my microphone. So there are like these types of things that I kind of have to consider as well, and it's kind of annoying, I can't lie. And I know that a lot of people are looking forward to the save file as well, and I greatly appreciate that. It's been a really fun project to work on so far, and I hope I'll be able to work more on it after the first initial version. That's at least my plan. So yeah, I just wanted to let you all know about that. I've talked about it on like in some of my previous speed builds too, and I thought I just wanted to mention it again. As for today's build though, I built this over on Twitch a couple of weeks back now, and I don't really remember how this idea came about. There might have been a brainstorming session with my viewers in one of the streams that led me to scrolling through Pinterest, trying to find some inspiration photos. I knew I wanted this to be modern at least, because all of the other builds I've done on this street are modern. So just to have a red thread through the whole neighborhood. And if you look around in the surroundings on the street though, you will see a lot of older looking buildings, also just a few modern ones. So I guess it is a nice mix, I would say. Initially, I think I wanted to have a clothing store here, then a furniture store, a library. Like, I've had a lot of different ideas for this specific lot, but nothing ever kind of struck. And I think I wanted some of those ideas elsewhere, like for example in Magnolia Promenade, which I really want to work on eventually, or soon rather, as the whole look and feel of that world go hand in hand with Willow Creek and Newcrest. And then the idea of a museum kind of popped up. One thing I know for sure is that I'm not the biggest fan of museums in The Sims 4. I find them to be kind of boring, like there's not too much to do or any activities to do unless you want to go a bit wild with it, I guess. So I thought if I was going to make a museum, I wanted it to, first of all, have an interesting theme and look. And secondly, I wanted there to be at least some sort of activity to do here. So you'll see eventually what I've added, and I'll of course be talking more about that in a moment. And yeah, I wanted this place to be somewhere adults, kids, families, everyone could hang out and enjoy together. So you can see that the general shape of the build have come together. I would say it isn't anything intricate. It's quite simple in my eyes, but with a few details that might stand out, such as the second floor that's supported on columns over the entry area. There is also a skylight on the second floor, and the shape and windows on the right-hand side of the build. And that part with the windows, I took inspiration from the neighboring lot, which I've also done a speed build for. It is a modern gym, and maybe these two buildings were built around the same time and just have some sort of cohesiveness between the two. They decided to include that detail with the windows, for example. And the front of today's build will also have a small fountain, and in the middle of that there will be a statue. So this is an astronaut statue that is from base game actually. And I often forget that item exists, but I thought it fit perfectly for a science and tech museum. Initially, I wanted to have a rocket ship on this lot as well, but I just couldn't find the space for it. And yeah, so maybe the statue is of a well-known or important figure in Sims history. Other than that, I just didn't want the exterior to look overly cluttered, but for it to be more on the cleaner, simpler side. I think I added a bike rack, some benches, and at the back there will be the rocket ship jungle gym for the kids that also go really well with the theme of today's build. I also added some chess tables on the platform by the entry as well, so you will be able to build your logic skill here. And I do believe I added the void critter competing machine, if I'm not like entirely sure what it's actually called, but it came with the kids room stuff pack, if I'm not mistaken. And there are these like different cards with the void critter creatures that you can collect and use to compete with others. Sort of like a Pokemon situation, I would say. And I think that item is exclusively for kids, which is a bit unfortunate, but yeah. I thought it was a fun addition to the build regardless. And not to mention, it's another activity you can do here. And I do believe that's pretty much it for the exterior. Or yeah, I actually added this pretty city poster on the overhang part just as some sort of sign, I guess. And it just added like something extra to the front of the build, which I do like. The inside of the build is split into 3 levels. For the first floor, I have raised the platform a couple of times to line up the height that's on the outside, where the front door is, and also the back door to the jungle gym. And I realize now that I probably wouldn't have needed that extra door, to be honest. I'm not sure how much sense it really makes for a community lot like this, but I guess I will leave it for now. I think I actually don't remember what I put on the patio area just outside the back door either, but I think I kept it relatively minimalistic. I also realized pretty quickly as I was doing the floor plan that I needed to have toilets somewhere as well, and since I'd already sort of planned what I wanted for the first and second floor by then, I decided to do a basement. So where the stairs go to the second floor, I just put a similar stair beneath that one. I'm not sure if everyone knows you can do that, but I do love that when I want to save space, you can just like kind of stack them on top of each other, if that makes sense. I've also customized the staircase by dragging the arrows that show up when you click the stair. I am still missing spiral staircases though, I can't lie. I was really hoping we would get something like that soon because there was this lamp item in Enchanted by Nature that sort of looked like a spiral staircase, but like a tree trunk and these mushrooms stuck to it going around it. Yeah, I was kind of hoping there would be spiral staircases with that pack, or ideally base game, like in a base game update. I really do love the glass wallpapers we got though in base game. I felt like that was something that we needed. I haven't really been able to use them yet though, as I haven't really built anything that kind of fits that vibe, but I'm sure I'll get around to doing that eventually. So yeah, there will be some toilets in the basement. That's like the only space where I could fit them in. On the first floor though, you'll be met with a reception area where you can pay for your entry through the ticket kiosk if you have this as a small business venue. I really like the different wallpapers I've used throughout this build, by the way. Both of them are from the Businesses and Hobbies expansion pack. And I especially like the wood paneling. The display shelf I've used in this build is also from that pack. It's just a way better choice than some of the other items we have in the game that are kind of similar. So there will be a display just by the reception as well, with a few tech items that I found in different packs. You'll of course see those on the second floor as well. That's going to be more of a display area with different inventions, tech items, and so on. Sort of like a through the history kind of display, if that makes sense. The rest of the first floor is split into two areas. There is a coffee bar. I love this one from the Businesses and Hobbies pack as well. And I think this whole area has turned out quite modern and trendy. There are also small round tables and chairs to enjoy whatever you bought. And then there is a small library area. The Businesses and Hobbies bookshelves, I literally use them all the time. They are my new favorite bookshelf to use. And I love that there are different versions, so it's easier to make it look less repetitive. Because I think that's a problem I have with the bookshelves in The Sims 4. Like if I want to combine multiple to make a long row of bookshelves, is that all of them, they look the same clutter, books and so on. But with these new ones, it's easier to avoid that. So don't be surprised if you see them in a lot of my builds going forward. I've also added in some island counters up against the windows here, and on one side there are some computers. I really do like the idea of having some public computers if you aren't able to have one at home. And yeah, just a simple but nice looking area in my opinion. Then I've already mentioned a bit about the second floor. There will be mainly display cases here with like different stuff. You'll be met with some inventions when you first walk up the staircase, and I've tried to do themes for some of the displays as well. Like one of them had these older looking lamps, one has some older clocks, phones and cameras. And in the latter one, I'm pretty sure I've used 2 of the event rewards that you could get a couple of months back. So if you don't have those in your game, they won't be in this build, unfortunately. That's one of the reasons why I don't really like using those rewards and other extra digital content in my uploaded builds, because some people don't have them and it's nearly impossible to get them at a later point. So I'm not the biggest fan of those sorts of features or events, I guess you can call them. I have put some blueprints on the walls, and if I'm not mistaken, I also put some of the debug bike parts from Businesses and Hobbies on display as well. I thought that was a fun detail. Then I made a little area with more displays that have more of these like gems, stones, fossils and stuff like that, along with some of those debug photos of the universe. Then the last room is more of like an activity room. I wanted there to be some sort of space where you can work on skills either by yourself or with someone. So I have added the robotics table. I thought that was fitting for the whole theme for this build. Then there are 2 of these chemistry tables that kids can use. Again, quite fitting, but yeah, since this was such a small and compact space though, I wasn't able to add as many things I would like to, but I'm still pretty happy with how this build turned out overall. I also got to use that one science mural from, I guess it's Growing Together, in like the activity room there on the wall. It has a couple of different swatches that I quite enjoy, but I'm not able to use it very often. But yeah, I think it works really well in a community space like this one. And then I've just added a few bookshelves and regular shelves with a few clutter items. I think I added in a miniature car and a plane. Yeah, I think so. And like I said, you can turn this into a small business venue a lot if you rather have it as that than a museum. That's why I added in the ticket kiosk downstairs and the reception area as mentioned. So you can add a certain entry fee. Otherwise, if you would like to keep this as a regular museum, then the Sims will just wander around without paying. But I thought this was an interesting community lot, and I've never done anything quite like it before. And I think I can count on one hand how many museums I've made in The Sims. And like I mentioned, they're not the most interesting lots to build, for me at least. But yeah, I enjoyed this one, and maybe it was a bit easier for me to do it because it has the overall modern look and feel, which I feel like is easier to do for a community lot, but that might just be me. Do let me know what type of community lots you'd like to either make in The Sims or the community lot type you use the most in your gameplay. It would be really interesting to hear your thoughts on that. For me at least, I think it might be cafes actually. I really do enjoy having my Sims visit cafes. Other than that, I'm just finishing up the build here and we'll soon head into the screenshots. So that's basically it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe for more content in the future. If you want to be notified of when I upload a video next, make sure to click the bell icon too. This build is playtested and up on my gallery. My ID is honeymaysims, or you can find me with the hashtag honeymaysims as well. You can also grab the trade files in the description. Big shout out to my Patreon supporters and my YouTube members. I appreciate you so much. Thank you all so much for hanging out with me today, and I can't wait to talk to you all in the next video. Until then, take care. Bye!